Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the Hindu newspaper dated 15th May 2018. Let's begin. The news appears on page number 7. Here the news reads, Gender bias caused excess deaths of girls under 5 years of age, as per Lancet study. This news suggests that there have been roughly 2,39,000 excess deaths per year of girls under the age of 5 years in India. And as per the study conducted by Lancet Global Health, as mentioned here, 29 states and union territories in India contribute to this excess mortality or excess death for girls under 5 years of age. Before understanding this issue of excess mortality or excess death of girls below the age of 5 years or under the age of 5 years, let's find out which part of the syllabus this particular news pertains to, and also some of the questions which have been asked by UPSC previously on this issue of gender equality. Under GS paper 1, it can be covered under role of women and women's organization, population and associated issues, poverty and developmental issues. Also under GS paper 2, this topic can be covered under issues relating to development and management of social sector or services relating to health, education and human resources. Also, issues relating to poverty and hunger. Let us also go through some of the questions asked by UPSC with respect to this concept of gender equality. The question asked in 2006 was, explain the social constraints in bringing about gender equality in Indian society. In 2008, it was asked, decline in sex ratio in India is an alarming sign for India's future social development. Discuss. Now, this topic was asked as an essay topic in 2016 and it read, if development is not engendered, it is endangered. So let's find out about this particular news. So this news basically talks about this concept of excess mortality or excess death. Now let us understand what this excess mortality means. It means a difference between observed mortality and expected mortality. Suppose expected mortality for any area was 15 deaths per 1,000 live birth. However, the observed mortality reached out to be 27 deaths. So this difference from 27 to 15, that is of 12 more deaths, can be said as excess mortality. So this article basically pertains to this concept of excess mortality. As you can see in this picture, this study focuses on mortality after birth and problems are more pronounced in the northern region of the country, as number of female deaths who are under the age of 5 years can be found more in this particular area as compared to other parts of the country. As you have seen in the picture, the problems are more pronounced in 4 northern states, namely Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, as these 4 large states of northern India accounts for 2/3 of such excess deaths of females under 5 years of age. As per the news, the areas impacted for this excess death are mostly rural or agricultural area with low level of education and high population. The reasons provided for this high excess mortality on certain concentrated areas is primarily low socio-economic development of the region, high fertility rate, and many deaths of these females under 5 years of age are also due to unwanted childbearing as well as subsequent neglect of such girl child. This subsequent neglect of girl child also includes neglect on part of giving them nutritious diet as well as neglect of proper health care of such girl child. These neglects are also one of the reasons for such excess death. Another reason for such excess death is also for preference for a male child. Thus, these are the reasons which can be attributed to these excess deaths of girls under the age of 5 years. As you can see in this particular picture, 29 of 35 states as well as union territories were affected by a significant amount of excess under mortality rate of girls below 5 years. And in this particular case, it says all states and union territories include at least one district with excess female mortality in childhood age. And as we have already discussed, these highest rates of under 5 mortality rate were recorded in northern India. So this issue of excess mortality, that is the difference between observed mortality and expected mortality, becomes very significant with respect to gender equality as well as development of females or development of girl child. With respect to these questions regarding social constraints in bringing about gender equality in Indian society, you can also provide these reasons as why gender equality seems persistent for more for girl child as compared to a boy child, and what are the reasons and what is its impact on the society as a whole. Thus, this news becomes very important with respect to our UPSC examination. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 8. The news reads Alien versus Alien. Disquiet in Assam should convince the centre to reconsider the new citizenship. Now, this news pertains to certain differences in National Register of Citizens or NRC as well as Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 with respect to Assam Accord. Let's understand this entire issue collectively. Several political groups as well as civil society groups in Assam have been protesting against this Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016, which seeks to make foreign illegal immigrants from some minority communities eligible for Indian citizenship. According to the Assam Accord of 1985, illegal migrants who have entered Assam from Bangladesh after March 24, 1971 were to be detected and deported. The protesting groups are arguing that certain provision of this new bill of 2016 contradicts the term of the Assam Accord. So let us understand about all these three, that is Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016, Assam Accord and the National Register of Citizens or NRC. Now this National Register of Citizens is simply a register which contains the name of all the people who are considered as legal citizens of the country. This first NRC was prepared in the year 1951 as per the census of that particular year. However, recently the government of Assam has released the first draft of National Register of Citizens. In the list, Assam has listed roughly 19 million people out of 32.9 million applicants as legal Indian citizens in a massive exercise aimed at identifying illegal immigrants in the state of Assam. The idea is to identify legal citizens of India and also to identify illegal immigrants who are staying currently in the state of Assam. Any person who does not find his or her name in the NCR shall be considered as foreigner under the Foreigners Act 1946 and shall be liable for deportation. That is, National Register of Citizens regards all migrants who have come to India after March 24, 1971 as illegal, irrespective of their religion. And such illegal immigrants needs to be deported to Bangladesh as per the Assam Accord. So in this respect, let us understand some of the important provision of Assam Accord signed in the year in 1985. As per the Accord, all those foreigners who had entered Assam between 1951 and 1961 were to be given full citizenship, including the right to vote. Those who had entered Assam after 1971 were to be deported, and those who have entered Assam between 1961 to 1971 were to be given the right of citizenship but denied voting rights for 10 years. And in any case, anyone who had entered the state without any documents after March 24, 1971 were to be declared as a foreigner and to be deported back. These were some of the important provisions of the Assam Accord. However, the provisions of the Assam Accord could not be complied with because of various reasons. Now, question remains, why is this NCR, that is National Register of Citizens, being updated now? As we have just seen that the government of Assam has released the first draft of NCR and is about to release the second draft as well, containing the list of citizens of India. We know that the provisions of Assam Accord were not implemented for a very long time. However, in the year 2009, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court demanding identification of Bangladeshi foreigners in the state and deletion of their names from the voters list. Finally, the Supreme Court ordered in the year 2013 to complete the exercise by 31st December 2017. Now we are seeing that the government of Assam has finally come out with a draft list of NRC. Now this editorial further talks about its contradiction with Citizenship Amendment Bill, as we saw that several political groups as well as civil societies were protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016. So let us understand what the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 is all about and how it contradicts provisions under the NCR. As per the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016, people belonging to Minority communities such as Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, and Christians belonging to Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan who have entered India without valid travel documents or the validity of the documents have expired. So these two type of people, that is who have entered India without valid travel documents or validity of the documents have expired, then these shall be considered as illegal migrants and hence under the present law shall be ineligible for Indian citizenship. So now this particular bill proposed to make them eligible for applying for Indian citizenship. Thus, effectively, the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 allows citizenship status to some illegal migrants who came to India after March 24, 1971 based on religious identities. Thus, the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 effectively allows citizenship status to some illegal migrants who came to India after March 24, 1971, and that too based on these religious identities. As per NCR, any person whose name does not appear in NCR shall be considered as a foreigner and shall be liable for deportation irrespective of their religion, whereas Citizenship Amendment Bill makes classification for certain religious communities and also for them the due date of March 24, 1971 does not apply. So what is being argued effectively is that NCR does not discriminate migrants on the ground of religion, whereas Citizenship Amendment Bill discriminates on the grounds of religion. This editorial also talks about certain unresolved issues, mainly regarding modalities of deportation, as it will involve negotiations with Bangladesh, such places to be identified where these illegal migrants shall be deported, and issue of discrimination on the grounds of religion. So this is precisely the reason why these political groups or civil society groups have been protesting against this particular Citizenship Amendment Bill with respect to NCR. So in this particular news, we saw about Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016, Assam Accord, as well as National Register of Citizens. This topic comes under GS Paper 3 and specifically under issues relating to internal security, that is, role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security. Thus, this topic on Assam Accord, National Register of Citizens, as well as Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016 becomes an important topic with respect to both your prelims as well as mains examination. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news also appears on page number 8. Here the news reads, is it possible to slow global warming? There is growing frustration after more than 2 decades of intense climate talks. And a question on intended nationally determined contribution has also been asked in the prelims of 2016. So let's find out what this particular news has all to say. 2-week-long meeting recently concluded in Bonn, where operational guidelines for implementing Paris Agreement were to be discussed and agreed upon by all parties. This 2-week-long meeting, 48th session of UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, of subsidiary body for implementation as well as subsidiary body for scientific and technological advice. With insufficient progress made on achieving goals on environment as well as climate change, another interim meeting has been proposed to be held in Bangkok in December of 2018. Now this meeting to be held in Bangkok is ahead of the COP, that is Conference of Parties meeting in Katowice, Poland. The problems discussed at the meeting were non-availability of funds from rich countries to developing and least developed countries to meet their NDC targets. Now NDC stands for Nationally Determined Contributions. With respect to non-availability of funds, it was discussed that with regular and dependent flow of income to developing and poor countries, these countries can develop a path of sustainable development roadmap, that is, development through low carbon emission. Apart from these, there were other roadblocks at the Bonn meeting. As discussed earlier, that regular and dependent flow of income has been one of the botheration. The purpose of the Bonn meeting was to operationalize the Paris Agreement guidelines or operating rule book, and in this respect, the developing countries want the rule book to cover mitigation targets, adaptations, as well as means for implementing the NDCs, that is, Nationally Determined Contributions. However, to implement them as per the rule book is the real challenge. Earlier at the Copenhagen summit, it was agreed that from 2020, Rich countries would provide a minimum of $100 billion each year to the poor and developing countries. Such funds seems far from available. There's another issue related to loss and damage. This loss and damage is a means to provide assistance to poor countries that experience severe impacts from climate change but have contributed very little to the greenhouse gases responsible for the warming and its effects. This is a very important issue for these least developed countries and for small islands, which is already experiencing the impact of increased sea level rise. Even in this respect of funds related to loss and damage, there is hardly any progress. Thus, the road ahead is to clear these roadblocks for a successful meeting to be held at Katowice in Poland. This news pertains to the environment section of UPSC syllabus. Now let us come back to the question which was asked in prelims 2016. The question was, the term intended nationally determined contributions is sometimes seen in the news in the context of. Options were pledges made by European countries to rehabilitate refugees from the war affected Middle East. No, this is not the correct answer. Plan of action outlined by the countries of the world to combat climate change. Yes, this seems to be a correct answer. But let's see the other option as well. Capital contributed by member countries in the establishment of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank? No. Plan of action outlined by countries of the world regarding sustainable development goals? No, this is not an answer. Here the correct answer is B. So we see a question on NDC, that is nationally determined contribution, has already been asked. Hence this topic becomes very important with respect to your environment section. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 9. The news reads, creating jobs for women in the renewable energy sector. India's transition to clean energy could improve the quality of life of women. So this particular news pertains to creating more jobs for women in the renewable sector. And as per the syllabus, it comes under GS paper 3 under the issues of Indian economy, issues relating to growth, development and employment. In this case, specifically of women, and also with respect to renewable energy. So effectively, this article talks about how renewable energy sector can emerge as an important sector for employment generation for women in India. At present, the female participation in the renewable energy sector is very low, and India ranks 120 among 131 countries on female labor force participation as per the World Bank data. Currently, a majority of women employed in the renewable energy sector are mostly doing temporary and labor intensive jobs, and specifically work at project sites doing civil masonry work. And in such works which are temporary as well as labor intensive have very little future growth. And there are very few women who are in the field of production, facilities or operation and management in the renewable energy sector. So the question remains how to achieve higher female participation in this workforce, and how can this sector emerge as an important sector for employment generation. The government, clean energy enterprises, training institutes as well as civil societies can work together to create good quality employment opportunities that can support the inclusion of more women in the workforce. The training institutes could reduce the bar on entry and thereby allowing for less formally educated women to learn new skills and receive training. The training should be customized to respect specific needs like location, hours of engagement, safety, and sanitation. In this respect, mobile training modules can be constituted in remote areas which can cater to small groups of women. Training institutes and civil society organizations can collaborate and strengthen connections with clean energy enterprises to help trained women secure employment. Thus, sensitization to women's specific needs can help increase participation of women in renewable energy workforce. Thus, this topic of participation of women in workforce becomes extremely important with respect to employment opportunities as well as making the renewable energy a permanent sector for women to work along with improved skill set. The next news appears on page number 6. Here the news reads crowning glory. Now this news pertains to a very specific geographical phenomena known as 22 degrees halo of the sun. And apart from general science, this topic can also be covered under GS paper 1, specifically under important geophysical phenomena. So with this respect, let us understand about this 22-degree halo. Now as you can see, a halo is a ring of light surrounding the sun or the moon. Most halos appears as bright white rings, but in some instances they have a color. As here in the case of this particular halo, you can also see apart from the white rings, different colors of white light. Halo forms when light from the sun or the moon is refracted by ice crystals associated with thin high level of clouds like cirrostratus clouds. And this 22-degree halo is a ring of light of 22 degrees from the sun or the moon and is the most common type of halo observed here on earth. As you can see in this particular picture, light undergoes two refractions, one here and then again here, as it passes through an ice crystal, and the amount of bending that occurs depend upon the diameter of this particular ice crystals. And a 22-degree halo is formed by hexagonal ice crystals having diameters less than 20.5 micrometers. Now, as you can see in this particular picture, a 22-degree halo develops when light enters through one side of the columnar ice crystal and exits through the other side. The light is refracted when it enters the ice crystal, and once again, the light gets refracted twice, once while entering the ice crystal and once while exiting this particular hexagonal ice crystal. So the two refractions bend the light by roughly 22 degrees from its original direction, which in effect produce a ring of light observed at 22 degrees from the sun or moon, which in effect produce the halo as observed on earth. It's important to know these rare geographical phenomena because in this certain part of science, that is physics, is also involved with respect to refraction of sunlight. So in this news we saw that halo forms when light from the sun or the moon is refracted by ice crystals. Also, that 22-degree halo is formed by hexagonal ice crystals, as you can see here in the picture, having diameters less than 20.5 macrometers. So this becomes an important piece of information with respect to 22-degree halo or formation of 22-degree halo. And this halo is formed after two refractions. One while the sun rays enter this particular ice cube crystal, and the second while exiting this ice cube crystal. So here in this picture we see that the sunlight is bent by 22 degree through refraction, producing the halo as observed from earth. So this topic becomes important as a rare occurrence or as a rare geophysical phenomena. The next news appears on page number 10. Here the news reads Article 35A Case Statute Bench. In this news, the Supreme Court will examine the constitutionality of Article 35A, and in this, the petitioner who has filed a case in the Supreme Court has claimed that Article 35A violates Indian Constitution and other laws of the land. So the Supreme Court has decided to set up a 5-judge constitution bench to discuss this particular issue. Since this news is in transition, let us wait and watch what happens with respect to the constitutionality of Article 35A. In the meanwhile, let us understand certain basic facts with respect to Article 35A. Now this Article 35A has not been added to the Indian Constitution through any amendment as provided under Article 368. This Article 35A has been added to the Indian Constitution through the Constitution application to Jammu and Kashmir Order 1954. Now the President has added this Article 35A in exercise of powers conferred on him under Article 370 Clause 1. As we know that Article 370 pertains to temporary provisions for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Article 35A decides who are permanent residents in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And this Article 35A also grants privileges with respect to employment under the state, acquisition of immovable property in the state, settlement in the state, and right to scholarship and such other forms of aid as the state government may provide. Since this is an ongoing case, so let's wait and watch what the Supreme Court has to say on the constitutionality of Article 35A. In the interim, just remember that Article 35A pertains to the permanent resident status of people residing in Jammu and Kashmir, and it was not added through an amendment under Article 368, whereas it was added through a presidential order of 1954. With this, we come to an end to today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.